Hey CFC, Pastor Matt here. Just wanted to give you another brief update on where we are currently at as a church. Before I do that, let me just reiterate again, we want to hear from you. We want to know how you're doing. If you've got prayer requests or needs, offer them up to Bob Chafee and he'll put them on our prayer email. If you have financial needs, reach out to myself or Session and we can talk about that and try to figure out the best way to assist you. And as always, be signed up for our newsletter, our Friday newsletter, because that's how you are going to stay up to date on all things worship and everything that's happening with the church. Now, I just want to speak a little bit to physical worship and where we're at with that, because some of you are wondering. Let me explain kind of where we're at, and then I'll talk about the heart of it secondly. But Session and I met last week. We worked through all the pros and the cons and logistics of what it would look like to meet physically. And we all came to a consensus that we thought it would be best to continue on with Zoom worship through July, most likely late July. And we would reconvene in mid to late July, and we would kind of see where we're at as a church, talk about it some more, and figure out next steps. So the plan right now is to continue meeting on Zoom, not doing physical worship for at least another month and a half. Now, let me explain how we arrived at that decision. There's this kind of, I don't think there's a single person that wouldn't say, I want to get back to the way things were. I want to return back to normalcy. And I just want to acknowledge, and I want to mourn the fact that we're not there. That's not really an option right now. We want to be back in our second home worshiping God with our brothers and sisters, but there's too much risk, there's too much confusion right now, and that's not an option. And so when we talk about meeting physically, it's truncated. I mean, it's a neutered form of worship. We're talking about, do we wear masks? Are we distanced? Who's allowed to come? Can we sing? Can we not sing? What does that look like? And so it's not simply a matter of should we meet digitally or should we meet physically. There's trade-offs in every single direction. And so it's tough. There's a lot of opinions. I've got some pastor friends that are making all different decisions. And for those that are meeting physically, they're heavy. Their hearts are heavy right now. It's not necessarily this joyful return to we're back. It's not the same as what it was before. And even our church is almost more divided because even though we're back, there's people that are not here. There's people disagreeing and fighting about what this should look like. And, so our decision to not meet physically is not out of fear. It's not out of a concern that we're going to, take up arms and battle against each other. But really the place that Session came to was love. We as a church right now, we want to be as unified as possible. And to think about us having a physical worship service, whatever that may look like, and recognize that a big chunk of you are going to choose to stay home because you don't feel safe or comfortable with that. Or there will people that will stay home because we would say, hey, we would prefer for you to stay home if you're high risk because we don't want you to endanger yourself. That leaves us with a worship service that not only is kind of minimal, but is missing a huge chunk of our church body. And we take that really seriously. We really wanted to pursue what we thought would be the most unifying, loving decision. And to have a group of low-risk people worshiping together saying, we're back, while a huge chunk of you are left at home, unable to come. We didn't think that would be unifying. We thought, if anything, that would produce more loneliness, more isolation, more division. And so the benefit of Zoom is that whether you are old, whether you are young, whether you are sick or you are well, we can all worship together as the body. So that's kind of our decision. If you have issues getting onto Zoom, let us know, and we want to help you work through that. But this is more than just a matter of a health concern. It's a love concern of caring for the CFC family, but also caring for our broader community. As people rush to church and they kind of ignore government guidelines and then they go back out into the community, who knows what's being transmitted or spread because of that decision. So again, we're trying to be smart. We're trying to be safe. We're trying to care for all of you the best that we can. And let me just stress two last things. First off, once again, it needs to be said. I know some of you are sick of hearing it, but we are still the church. The doors are not shuttered. You can still be missional. You can still fellowship, even if it's via phone or it's via text or it's via Zoom. I mean, we can still be the church, and we are. Small groups are meeting. We are still worshiping online. There's a new women's group that started. Stuff is happening. And we encourage you to be proactive in being the church, but also sign up for our newsletter and find out how you can participate further in the life of the body. So don't minimize church to just being physical worship. It's so much more than that, and our church is active and alive even as we're dispersed during this time. But the second thing is we want to increase fellowship. Small group leaders are thinking of creative ways to meet physically, not physically, pursuing fellowship events. We hope in the coming weeks to maybe create some fellowship events at the church, maybe on the front lawn, just to help us stay connected. But let us know your ideas, or run with things yourself. I mean, you, again, be the church, fellowship with one another. We want to increase fellowship as much as possible during this time so people can stay connected. So that's where we're at. That's the heart behind our decision. And we will reconvene in session. We'll reconvene in mid to late July, and we'll kind of see where we're at. We'll take some of your thoughts and considerations into consideration, and pray about what would God have us do. So church, care about you. I love you. If you need something, please reach out. And it's a two-way street. Let's stay connected. But keep on being the church and the body of Christ. And may King Jesus continue to guide us through this time. Love you all. Take care.